affairs of the society and looking after the citizens. So now it's a time for a hat trick. Now this is the third visit of ours to a police office, and not only from that angle, but also from the angle that it's not just one Chief Justice, but two Chief Justices have simultaneously visited these offices. One serving and the other about to take over and to lead from here on. It's a proud privilege for me to be here, and in fact, I'm feeling nostalgic that exactly 30 years ago, in the year 1989, I was a very young lawyer. My elder brother, Mr. Asif Khosa, was the course commander here in this academy, and Mr. Rathore was the commandant of this academy. And I was invited here as a young lawyer to speak on police and the fundamental rights enshrined in the Constitution. So I came up with a longish paper and with the printed stuff with me, and distributed those the text of my lecture. And this is how my relationship with the police began formally. The informal relationship was already there because my brother joined the police service, and ever since, police and our family go together. So in the year 1989, as I said, Mr. Rathore was the commandant, and he was so gracious and kind today to receive me at the door, and he said, "I'll take you with me myself to the audience." And I'm so grateful to you, sir, for honoring me once again, because not only in 1989, but after 30 years, you have greeted me once again and received me. Then Mr. Asif Khosa was the course commander at that time, and he then rose to become IG and Director General FIA. He retired. And then there was Mr. Muhammad Tahir, who was the commandant. Is the commandant today. He was sitting in the audience and listening to my lecture at that time. If I'm not wrong, and there were many other officers who were also under training at that time, and they had heard my lecture, I had met them, and as God has willed, we meet again here, and some of them have retired from their service and have risen to the greatest heights possible. So that was the nostalgia that I was reminded of. 30 years have passed. I am about to retire, so I'll join the retired community and then reminisce on all these things that have been happening. Today is the 16th of December. This unfortunate date reminds us of two tragedies that this country has faced. One was the fall of Dhaka on 16th of December, and the other was the tragedy at the Army Public School, Peshawar, a few years ago. Both these tragic incidents have some lessons for us. In the fall of Dhaka, the lesson is that a state is created through a social contract between the state and the citizens. If the social contract loosens, if the interaction between the state and the citizen is not strong enough, if the state starts ignoring the rights of the citizens and starts asserting itself too much, then people somehow break away from that social contract. So the Pakistan movement, which initially started in East Bengal, they were more committed, they were more loyal to Pakistan than we were in the West, because they initiated the whole process. But they somehow broke away from us because the state did not look after its citizens, and the citizens then broke away. So how does the state take care of its citizens? The mechanism that has been devised is the Constitution, the rule of law. And the Constitution is that social contract which contains fundamental rights, the rights of the citizens. The state must look after its citizens and ensure provision of fundamental rights to its citizens. And this is the only way that you can keep the citizens engaged with whatever the state is doing. Otherwise, the citizens will get disengaged and the state may no longer be able to survive as it is. The enforcement of fundamental rights, again, that was the topic when I spoke here in 1989. And once again, today, after 30 years, I will re-emphasize that the state can look after its citizens in two ways. Number one, the governance has to be according to the laws laid down in the Constitution. And number two, the state is to ensure that the fundamental rights reach, the fruits of fundamental rights reach the citizens. And police also plays a very important part in this. Unfortunately, for some time, the perception about the police was that it curbs the fundamental rights and freedoms rather than ensuring fundamental rights and freedoms. So maybe time has come that we have to rethink the whole approach of the police. That the police is basically to protect the citizens against the excesses of the state or excesses of other citizens. The police should be perceived as a protector rather than as a persecutor. So this fundamental change I would emphasize after 30 years, once again in this academy, that you have to teach this to the under-training officers, that this is your primary job. You are there for the citizen, not for a colonial master who is to impose its decisions on the citizens. So this fundamental change in the thought process is important if the social contract is to be kept alive, so that there is no such incident as happened many years ago in Bangladesh. East Pakistan broke away. This is one lesson we must not forget. The lesson that we get from the Army Public School incident taking place on this very day some years ago is that that was an incident which shook us all. And it shook us out of the slumber. It in fact prompted us to reconsider our approaches. Terrorism was going on for many, many years before that incident. But that was the incident when we realized that enough is enough. And we as a nation then decided that we have to do something about it. And that is why a national action plan was conceived, it was laid down, and the whole nation then supported that effort. And God has been very kind that we have largely and substantially tackled this issue. The lesson here is that when we get together on one agenda, the entire nation, then we can work wonders, we can achieve anything. So we have to look for those areas